Chip Valentino and I are here to share some great plants for backyard privacy. We'll tell you different plant varieties that work great as a green screen and what kind of maintenance is involved. Mostly we're looking for evergreen shrubs that take to pruning. And I'm thinking of something that you could prune and keep at whatever height you want. So Xylosma, Photinia, Podocarpus, Macrophylla, many different types of holly. We're here with the privet. You can see they've pruned it into a fence. So there's a lot of flexibility with it for different spaces. We're almost always after evergreen so that you never see the fence. You can see this is planted right in front of a block wall. Fairly minimal amount of maintenance, except that say you never pruned a privet, it would probably get 10 feet wide, 20 to 25 feet tall. Now we're keeping it 4 or 5 feet wide, 7 feet tall. That requires 2 or 3 times a year pruning to keep it like that. Jasmine, ivy, creeping fig, all of those things, if you have a fence, make good green screens in addition to the fence, but usually you need some kind of support. Whereas with privet, you don't need support. We're here at an interesting little garden where we're going to show you about do-it-yourself trellises for screens and to cover up fences. This is also going to go above the fence to act as a screen for a busy neighborhood next to this garden. Check out that video that ties in nicely with this. So in this yard, we got a great example of a number of screens. We have the Podocarpus macrophylla. It's about, I'd say about 15 years old now, and you can see how tall it's gotten. It's tall and narrow, so if you don't have a lot of room, it makes a really nice screen that takes very little maintenance. We've hardly ever pruned these. The only reason these tops have been pruned is because of those wires, and they've been pruned, once every 5 years or so. You can see a couple of other plants adding to the screen. One right behind the pool is needleleaf holly, and that has never been pruned in terms of on top, so that's as tall as it gets, like about 6 feet tall. Kind of a contained growth and a nice screen on a lower level than the Podocarpus macrophylla. You put the two together and you have total blocking of the fence and then views of the neighbors' houses. In the front is a semi-dwarf citrus. Those create a nice screen also. Behind it are privet that create that courtyard. You've got a private space there between the street and the house. Also in that front area is a tremendous example of a big evergreen screen, Xylosma, which kind of like privet in that you could keep that to be a 4-foot hedge if you wanted, or you could let it grow like was done here and create like a 30-foot screen. So for a small yard is a small screen. Actually, this is another variety of holly, and this one, only gets about 4 feet tall, doesn't get too wide. There's a lot of interesting hollies. One that stays narrow and doesn't get tall like Podocarpus called sky pencil. There are a lot of varieties of holly that don't get too big, so they would make a nice screen. Basically, you want to find plants that don't get real big, and then you plant them together. If they're not a big plant, you can let them grow their natural form and create a small screen in a small garden. These big plants like privet and Xylosma, a little harder to put in a small garden because they're too big. So if you did it, then you're gonna have to prune it a lot. But most of them will take to the pruning as long as you do it consistently and frequently. Really, it doesn't matter the plant. An effective strategy for noise is to try to have more than one level. Similar to what's done here, you start with a 3 or 4 foot screen, go to about a 5 or 6 foot screen, then go to about a 10 to 15 foot screen, and you're directing those sound waves up over the area you want to keep the noise out of. The lowest maintenance is if you don't mind that style of something just growing in its natural shape. Similar to these Podocarpus, they're growing their natural shape, but when you want to keep it out of the way of things like this privet hedge, then it takes a little more maintenance. The ones that don't require pruning, combine it with good soil treatment with blend and penetrate liquid biotiller, proper watering, and you've got a low maintenance screen. Chip and I hope you liked it. If you did, please subscribe and like it and tell all your friends about it. And if you have comments, put those in below.
That's a good answer.
Thank you.
More than I would expect.
Now and then I know something.
Um,
Now and then I have a moment of lucidity.